Hello everybody, I'm Harper Wynn, and today we're doing a comparative analysis of Asian and Caribbean cinemas. More specifically, we're looking at the films Parasite and The Harder They Come and seeing how they portray similar messages. Let's get into it. Okay, before we begin talking about the films, I want to really quickly talk about how Asian and Caribbean cinemas are connected. So when a person watches a motion picture, the filmmaker is typically able to connect to the audience through the story, the characters, or the overall message of the movie. And it's this connectivity that allows audiences from different parts of the world to relate to the same movie in similar ways. And this is kind of backed by our definition of what global cinema is. So global cinema, it encompasses all films produced around the world, including Asian cinema, Caribbean cinema, and African cinema, among others. And by creating narratives that cover broad ideas and themes, global cinema can transcend cultural boundaries and languages. And this implies that a person can watch a film from a part of the world they've never been to or know a little about and still relate to it in some way. And it also implies that films from different parts of the world can share many similarities, and it's that idea that we're going to be exploring today. Now that that's out of the way, let's get the background on each of these films. So Parasite is directed by Bong Joon-ho. He's a South Korean director, and some of his other works include The Host, Snowpiercer, and Mickey 17. And Parasite follows the Kim family as they infiltrate the wealthier Park family's household as workers in order to get rich. And The Harder They Come, it's directed by Perry Hensel. He's a Jamaican director, and some of his other works include Midnight Movies and A Filmmaker's Odyssey. And The Harder They Come tells the story of a Jamaican musician, Ivan, who turns to a life of crime to cope with the struggles of making a living. So today we're answering the question, how do Parasite and The Harder They Come portray a message of defiance within the context of neocolonialism? And there's two answers to this. First, we're going to be talking about visual motifs, and the second part, we're going to be talking about composition. To begin talking about visual motifs, let's first define what they are. So a visual motif is a recurring element, such as an object, shape, or color that appears throughout a film to portray a certain meaning. And these motifs, they can also be a prop, a specific line of dialogue, or a certain sound. And they just represent a specific theme in a film. And in Parasite and The Harder They Come, the visual motifs are heavily utilized. So in Parasite, indigenous imagery is a very heavily utilized visual motif. Da Song, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Park, is obsessed with Native Americans to the point where he has a birthday party themed around indigenous people at the end of the film. And this motif showcases neocolonialism and foreshadows defiance. First, it portrays how America acts as a neocolonialistic force over South Korea. Side note, neocolonialism is when a country exerts control over another country through indirect means. And although there are other aspects of this film, like the park's random usage of English words that portrays neocolonialism, this motif is the most direct, as it relates the characters directly to a group that was colonized by those that came to America by showing both the Parks and the Kims with props related to this motif, which can be seen in this scene here, where Mr. Kim and Mr. Park are both wearing indigenous headdresses. And then this motif also foreshadows defiance. So when colonizers first arrived in America, the indigenous people already living here were brutally killed. So by linking the Park family to Native Americans, it foreshadows how Kunsei defies his position in life by attacking the Park family on their land at the end of the film. As for the film The Harder They Come, the cowboy is a visual motif that is utilized to showcase neocolonialism and defiance as well. So this motif, it first appears when Ivan's watching the movie Django, which is a film that's set in the American West. And this showcases the impact America has on Jamaica by showing how American influence has infiltrated the Jamaican entertainment industry. And then it also portrays defiance when Ivan is seen in a standoff with the police. Here, Ivan is shown in the same position as the cowboy in Django, with him hidden behind a tree. And in Westerns, the cowboy is a glorified character that the audience roots for despite his criminal activity. So by portraying Ivan as a cowboy, it represents how he's able to defy neocolonialistic forces, attempts to keep him from gaining or attaining status by gaining fame as an outlaw. Hello from the editing room. I really quickly wanted to say that we can see the attempts to keep Ivan from gaining status in the scene where the cop is talking to Mr. Hilton, the man who is very heavily has his hand in the music industry in Jamaica, when he is telling him that he has banned Ivan's record from playing in stations in order to not glorify his crimes. I forgot to say that while I was recording, so I wanted to include it now. Thanks, guys. Now that we talked about visual motifs, let's get into composition. So composition is how the characters and objects in a film are arranged within the frame. And composition can be used in a lot of different ways. It can be used to signify importance, evoke emotion, or portray relationships between characters. And how filmmakers arrange their frames is key to understanding their style as a filmmaker. So for both of these films, composition is used to showcase characters to find their positions of lower status. First, in Parasite, in this frame here, you can see that Kilo is lying on the basement floor and Gunsei is standing tall over him. And then as the scene plays out, Gunsei actually moves higher in the frame by utilizing the stairs on the left. And this is crucial to the end of the film, as Gunsei had not have been able to execute his attack on the Kims in the parks without his sudden gain of power and control. And then in The Harder They Come, when Ivan is signing the record deal with Mr. Hilton, we can see that Ivan is standing high over Mr. Hilton despite supposedly being under his control. And then this foreshadows his defiance later on, or shortly after this scene, when he turns to his life of crime. And much like Gunsei, if Ivan had never been able to overcome his place in society, his infamous criminal activity would not be possible. Overall, both Parasite and The Harder They Come portray a message of defying power, oppression, and inequality, which are characteristics of colonialism, that is contextualized within their own cultures. And this showcases how global cinema can maintain their distinct identities while portraying similar messages. And additionally, these films both conclude that Defiance is futile when it's not supported by a community. So although Ivan and Gunsei are able to defy their positions in life, the result is both violent and non-lasting. And this leaves audiences with the idea that real change cannot be done alone if it is to persist. And here are my sources. Thank you.